Okay, it's day 81 and part two, and there is a couple of interesting records here for a guy named Omar Awan. As you have recalled, I've wondered out loud in the past if Omar Awan is Abid Awan, and I was actually in Luke's office. I want to say Luke Rosiak of the Daily Caller about 230 days, 240 days ago, and we were talking about this, and I had said to him, I think Omar is involved, and he said, no, I don't think he is. But then later in the same conversation, I believe Luke told me that Omar uses the name Abid. That's when I said to Luke, are you sure, this guy's not your source? Because, and I understand people may be protecting their sources, but it's really important right now, while these people are Devin Nunes is going through these text messages of McCabe and McCabe's associates, that they have to realize the link to the Awans. If you don't understand the link to the Awans and the whole spying in Congress, you lose the whole game. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So here's Omar Awan. Did you ever change your name to Omar Rehman? Rehman, it should be. Well, here's why I say that. You look at anomalies like, here is Omar living in San Diego. He's working for the U.S. House of Representatives, right? He's working for the U.S. House of Representatives, but he's working in San Diego. This is a red flag. Now, this is where the Strokes are working. There's two sets of Strokes, no pun intended. There are two sets of Strokes coming in from San Diego. Remember, Peter Strokes' son lives in San Diego, and his daughter-in-law live in San Diego. I believe also his father. He has two other relatives that have come in from San Diego, visiting the White House in the Situation Room, in the Coast Guard Situation Room. That is an anomaly. Most people don't go to the Situation of the Coast Guard at 9:30 at night from San Diego. So I'm just saying Omar Awan has got a hit here with San Diego. Now let's look a little bit more at Omar's associates. Well, who works for Omar? Okay, well, there's a guy by the name of Carter Page works for him. And then he knows this other guy, Omar Rehman Awan, and he's in all these transportation companies. Chaudhry Transportation, Pro Logistics, again, all these logistics companies. Again, if you hadn't studied the case and you didn't know about Imran Awan, you wouldn't know about Rehman, and there's the kind of Rehman turned around and swizzled to Mahar's. Infinity Logistics, yet another logistics company. Now, if these are not related, BAT, I don't know, financial, but he's in financial companies, he's the president, he's the CEO. Is he the same person? Is Omar Awan the same person as Rehman? And is that Abid Awan? Again, if Luke knows that Omar Awan and Abid Awan are the same person, he has to tell me right now, because that's going to help a lot. Now here it is. Here's the people in the conspiracy against Trump. Carter Page working for the chief of staff, which is Sue Foy, working for Omar Awan in San Diego. Again, another hit in San Diego. You have to come clean with this stuff. Did you ever work for Sue Foy? We need to look up Sue Foy, see if she ever worked in San Diego. Why do you have somebody working in San Diego? Why? There's got to be a reason for that. Is that the adjunct or the legislative affairs person for the Coast Guard? Well, that's fine if it is. But we should know that connection to San Diego right now. And why are we having these 9:30 meetings at night in San Diego with the Coast Guard? What's the deal? Now, who is Omar's father? Okay, is that Mustafa Awan? Is that Mustafa Awan or is that not Mustafa Awan? Okay, well, here's some location records of Omar Kurdish Awan, born in March 1st, 1982. Again, a range. Most people have a birth date. They don't have a birth month. Okay, so that's a little odd. But anyway, is that Omar Khurshid Awan, is that the one who works in Congress or not? That's a key question. Okay, and we'll just keep working our way up. Is this where they lived on 925 University Boulevard in Silver Spring, where I was? And I think I stood out in front of that building. Did Mustafa Awan have a DEA-controlled practitioner's license for Schedule 2 narcotics, 3 narcotics, 4 narcotics, and 5 narcotics? It's a simple question. Did he ever hold a medical degree to have those licenses? Okay. Here's where I am going to say right now, pizza is drugs and Domino's is arms. I know people don't want to hear that, but pizza is drugs and Domino's is arms. I've been saying that since day one in this series. And so here's Omar Khurshid Awan, Silver Spring, Maryland. Omar, have you ever lived there? Abid, have you ever lived there? Here's potentially his brother or a relative, Farouk Awan. You remember Farouk Awan from the scandal at the District of D.C. in the IT department, fake names, fake loans, fake billing, all the same things we've got in the current Awan scandal, Farouk Awan. And he happens to know Mustafa Awan. Interesting. Lives in Woodbridge. Okay, Woodbridge is another city that we've had in our thing. Okay, now let's go with associates. Mustafa Awan. Do you know Malik Arif? Are you in any way, have you ever used that as an alias, for instance? Mustafa Awan, have you ever used Malik Arif as an alias? A key question. Okay, so there's different records that come in. And then we find this Malik Arif, again, with a hit on Manitoba. Again, if you've done the network analysis, you've seen how many people lived on that Manitoba address, including Imran, it starts clicking. Malik Artif, or Arif, that should be A-R-I-F. Have you ever lived in Lorton on Hawkshead Boulevard, a couple doors down from Imran Awan? That's another hit. These things are hits. They're things that would point you in the direction to say these are important names, important entities. Have you ever worked for Papa John's and then bought a $600,000 home delivering pizza? Okay, that's something we need to know. Okay, is that the home that you bought? Lynette. That's another home that was involved with Hina Alvi. Do you know Hina Alvi is the next question. Arif. Okay, so these are all matching up and getting a lot of hits here. And then here he goes. He's working for another Bailey Pizza and he buys $1 million home. This seems to be a kind of repeating pattern. Okay. So I'll just leave it there. I'll also just remind Rod Rosenstein that his wife's name is Lisa Barsumian and that she's Bill Clinton's lawyer, and she's also the shot blocker for the FBI and the CIA in all their cases, and DOJ. And if he thinks that's a conflict of interest, I would like to know. And finally, Fox is reporting that they're only allowed to see notes, that Devin Nunes is only seeing notes from these documents of DOJ and FBI and Fusion GPS. I would really suggest to do an entity analysis on Imran, Omar, Malik, Abid, especially Omar and Kristen and Devin, the sons and daughter-in-law of Peter Strzok, and the father, Peter, and the other two names that go to the White House. And really focus in on this San Diego and then also South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, and focus on those two key ports, the one being the huge West Coast port, the other being Corpus Christi, being the port in the middle of the country, and the third port being especially important, which I think is going to be the Charleston Harbor. And then, of course, our favorite, which is the Navy Yard. And Norfolk, I guess. I'll add in Norfolk.